taking these pictures, but they had got equipment and pulled that dozer out of there. They had them big winch trucks and all, and they got that dozer out of there. I was hoping that sucker to go ahead and sink, but they worked at this real hard, and they got this much done, and they couldn't go no further. There's nothing. I mean, this, and then they tried to tell me this land. This was a piece of the ground that I showed you to start with. It was rock and hay meadow with roads all over it. And the cemetery that's dated back to 1830s, where the people was buried that never could live there because we didn't have any water. That's what the state's going to tell you now. We never had water. Well, this thing was never a lagoon. It was never a swamp. It was, that part right there was grass meadow. The man across the street mowed that and built it, and the people run dairies for years and used that water. In 1830, there's people all up and down that Sugarloaf Creek because it was a spring-fed creek. It was Lewis and Clark that made a trip to the West Coast. When they came back, the Clark family loaded in a wagon and their teams and their families, and they come to Sugarloaf Mountain. If you ever what happened to the Clarks after their trip, their expedition. Part of the bows and part of that old wagon is still on the mountain, and part of that mountain. All of those people lived off of them springs, and there was families all up and down Sugarloaf Creek. Hartford had 3,500 people at one time. And I don't know, Hackett, I guess, had 2,000 or 3,000 people at one time. And you can figure whatever you want to, but there was several thousand people lived in South Sebastian County. We didn't have a lake. We didn't have a water well or city water. It was make do. They did finally drill a water well, and a lot of the water was originally hauled into the school. We did have the first lights in the city of Hartford, and we had the first nightlight football ever in the state of Arkansas. And there was a lot of people there. The whole community, Midland community, they had to be 25,000, 30,000 people. And if you check with these state agencies in Arkansas, we never had any water in South Sebastian. Will you tell me where them people lived to be 105 years old? How did they do that without water? We had plenty of water. We just don't have any water now. You can see this is, the other was red. This is gray. The other was like that when Josh Fox came down and filmed. And if you see the trailer to Gasland, you will see that reddish mark. This right here was a completely different thing. All of this gray material came out of Oklahoma. And believe me, when Oklahoma won't let you dump, you got some bad loads.